Guys, welcome back to another episode of Rennch. This is day 2, really it's like day 4 of the thrash to get to the Porsche Toy and Literature Show at the LA airport. And as you can see, my garage is completely hammered. We kind of stuff everything back in the garage at the end of the day. But everything is coming along really well. Got to pull all this stuff back out. Let me show you where we are with the drying rack back here. So I've got a few parts drying here. We've managed to put a nice coat of primer on this timing cover, and we've got the covers that go over the fuel rails as well as, of course, the intake. I'm actually going to do a little bit of filler work on this intake to clean it up so it's really nice and smooth before we hit it with some plastic paint. One thing I should mention is we made a very command decision not to Cerakote for this engine for this weekend. Moving forward, I will absolutely be Cerakoting everything, but the reason I chose not to is because every video I saw required pre-Cerakote process to be sandblasted, and I do not have a sandblaster. So I decided to avoid that complication and go with my favorite VHT roll bar and chassis paint, which does a really good job mimicking the satin paint finish of vintage Porsches. I got like 4 cans of that, and I've got a can for the plastic. So we're gonna go with that. The other big thing is this. By the way, for those of you who are just catching up now, what we're doing is getting this engine, which is the very first Laystern swap, Subaru flat 6, 300 horsepower swap for 911s and 912s. I've got a display going up at the Lit Show, which is the biggest sort of rare collectible Porsche items show near LAX at this hotel. And it's all the big heavy hitters like Seinfeld will be walking around and that kind of thing. So it's very blasphemous. It's what the whole blasphemy build is based on. But one thing I did discover that we're going to go with for this particular show is, you see I've modified this bracket, this alternator bracket, and put this kind of Heim joint on here for tension with a single belt. Well, I've realized that if I don't cut this bracket down and I use the stock air conditioner, I can actually get a vintage air setup that will provide heat, air conditioning, and defrost, which we're going to go with on this car. However, this represents better. This really sort of clean, naked kind of look really looks a lot better and cleaner in the engine compartment, obviously without the twin turbos. But we're going to actually pull this thing, this bracket and this joint for that engine, paint this thing up so it looks really good, and just have this thing kind of representing a little bit better for that particular show engine. But Mark is actually going to go with the full bracket with the air conditioning compressor, and we're going to try to wire up some air conditioning and heating and everything for this car. So that'll be very cool. My first task is I think I'm going to grind these things out a little bit. I finished welding the headers yesterday. They're pretty pigeon poopy. I had a little more space than I wanted to. So I'm going to hit this with a grinder and get them ready for Mark to get here so we can prep them for paint. And then I have more to do on the cradle, which is somewhere in here in this mess. I've got to finish welding and do some kind of stuff. It's actually hiding all the way over there. I've got to finish some stuff on that and get that welded up. This is our little stand that we hang parts on. So we're going to have sort of various things being painted and prepped. And then my buddy's coming over with some really good cleaning foam. I will show you the inside of this too, which is unbelievable how brand new these engines are as they come out of Japan. So let's get this thing going, start grinding this bad boy, and we'll check back in a few minutes. All right, about 20 minutes or so, I'm grinding, and I've got the headers really, really cleaned up. We'll hit them with a 3M scrubby for all the parts I couldn't get to with my grinder and sander, and these should be ready for some coating. They're going to look awesome too. So I get these engines used. They all have less than 50,000 miles. That's the promise. But I just want to show you this in case you guys ever have any issues. Look at how brand new inside this engine is. I mean, it's unbelievable. We couldn't believe it when we saw it, but nothing but faith in the mileage and wear of these engines because they really look amazing. All right, we've got parts here. This is ready to get primed. This is the alternator bracket. This obviously is the timing cover and the fuel injection covers, and they're actually ready for their first coat of paint. I'm gonna do a little bit of body work to this thing, but we are moving right along, everybody. All right, guys, first 2 coats. This stuff is so good. It lays on so well. I made one little run mistake over there, but hopefully it won't be too bad. This stuff is primed. Just decided to prime this. All the stuff's gonna end up being stripped by sandblasting, so we just want it to look nice. Unfortunately, we just got the gustiest winds that have just kicked in. So can't we have nice things? All right, we're moving right along. I welded up this bracket last night. Couldn't get the welds to penetrate very well, but that's why they make grinders. So I'm gonna grind this thing down and get ready for paint. These have all had 3 coats, despite this very breezy day, but they look great. We'll let them dry a little bit more and then transfer them to somewhere else where they can sort of bake flat in the sun. These things are pretty much ready to spray once we give them a quick sand down. And I've gotten a little bit of filler on the top here, and I've gotten a little bit of filler on the plastic air intake. So we're sanding that down and get it ready for another coat of primer and then paint it up. All right, back from lunch. It's so lovely and satiny and nice. It's gonna look so great. These things look super dialed and really smooth and lovely. So I'm gonna hit these really quick with basically a used Scotch-Brite, which should give me about a 400 to 500 grit. And then I'm gonna nail them with a little roll bar and chassis. I put a little bit of filler here, so I'm gonna hit this really quick and get this all smoothed out. So this looks really good. Give these a coat of paint, a lick of paint, as they say. And I'm off to work on the engine cradle and make sure that thing is fully dialed in. But we are getting closer and closer. All right, it's been a little while since I checked in. A lot going on. We are sort of at the final throes of light here, so there's a lot going on, but a lot of really cool stuff. So just even the side view is looking delightful on this, but if we come around the front, look at all that beautiful hardware on that nice clean block. Looks absolutely spectacular. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And we are making progress. On my end, I am flying through all this paint. I got a coat of primer on the cradle, got a lot of the cradle done, and a bunch of other little bits and pieces that are basically ready to go. So that is all really good. Making great progress. All right, in my little world, I've been prepping and painting and prepping and painting. I've got this muffler kind of degreased and ready to get a little bit of primer on it. This is not the muffler we were going to use, but in a pinch, we're gonna just kind of paint it up and make it look nice enough. Got cradle, 1 coat of paint on it, so it is drying. These things are about ready to bolt on. They look unbelievable, and we are already assembling back there, so let's keep going. All right, we've just spent the last hour or so with assembly. Here's what she looks like right now. Absolutely stunning. Still a few more pieces to bolt on. I'm gonna do the headers. Mark is snagging the coolant overflow tank from my engine. This thing would look pretty good in your car. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So I don't have the first idea how I look, but I'll tell you how this thing looks, which is pretty friggin' spectacular. Check this out. This bolts right to any vintage 911. It is just stable and amazing. And just couldn't be more excited. Everything just looks so dope. We definitely want a better exhaust, but I don't know, man. This is pretty ridiculous, to be honest. All right, guys, after many, many hours, we are strapped down and ready to get this bad boy to the lit show. It looks ridiculous. And we're ready to roll. It's been awesome. There's been a lot of logistical challenges. One of my biggest, proudest moments of the evening was creating this, because I made this little headphone stand, little lined, and this is so people can listen to the engine sounds on my fancy high-end headphones. So that will be part of the booth. I'm freshly laundered. We've got the table, but why? and loading it all in. Super stoked. All right, guys, engine is on the way to the show. That was an unbelievable day. Super fun. It's there. We did it. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. I'm going to wrap this video up right now, and then I'll bring you another video tomorrow. And with any luck, I will indeed capture Seinfeld snubbing and walking right by the booth. We'll see you next time.